What up? What up? Welcome back to Brando's World of X Games. I'm hyped for this next guest. You know him. If you've been alive for the last decade, you've heard his music. Certainly, whether he's performed at X Games or just really anywhere. And now his music is taking a new chapter, if you will. And we're really hyped to talk to him about that as he gets ready to drop this album in just a little over a week, or maybe exactly a week from now. So please welcome G-Eazy. G, what's cracking, man?
Man, just excited for the new music, yeah, chilling.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have been saying this to you, but you just dropped Stand By Me, which Marshmello, you worked with Marshmello on just last night, which we're super hyped on. But the song I do want to talk to you about that just dropped a week before, the Free Porn Cheap Drugs, certainly a departure from what we've heard from you. But man, it's like I'm on Spotify, I'm listening to my new music Friday like I always do. I see it on my screen in my truck, G-Eazy, Free Porn Cheap Drugs. First of all, you had me at the title. And then I'm hearing it and I'm like, when's G's verse? Like, when's he coming? And then it takes like a minute and I'm like, oh shit, that's him.
A lot of people were saying they didn't even think it was me at first. And I mean, quarantine, it's been a strange time for everybody, in all different types of ways. It's hit everybody differently. For me, I felt fortunate to have the opportunity to have this freedom, to be able to just dive deep and take this time to explore freely. A lot of people have had this time to self-reflect and learn new things about themselves, or start new things, or find new hobbies, or find things about themselves they didn't know at the time. For me, it was just a chance to explore creatively in a way that I hadn't before. So I had a vocal coach who I would do FaceTime sessions with. She worked with me to help me learn how to sing a little bit. I'm still not that good, but I have a piano in my house, and I was just took the time to really try to learn something new.
Yeah, man. And it's amazing. It's such a great sound. You singing, just the melody. It's like, I don't know what to compare it to. Like you almost feel like you're listening to like a Radiohead track or something.
Well, I mean, yeah,
it's got an indie vibe.
I think that's the side of me that people, may not have known, is that, I am like a huge Radiohead fan, and, that side of, music, I have, a broad eclectic taste. So it's just me exploring other inspirations other than what people are used to. And I think as an artist, that's a freedom that you should be able to explore. You should surprise people. If you knew it was coming every time, it wouldn't be as fun.
I have to imagine for you, who's probably toured for the better part of a decade, in between appearances and shows and all the commitments, this is probably the longest you've been home for a set period of time. In I don't know how long. So I, as you said, it's allowed you to explore some things creatively that you hadn't in the past. But have you welcomed this time? Are you getting a little antsy, or are you enjoying this kind of moment?
I think like most of us, no matter where you are, there's good quarantine days and there's the bad ones. There's at first I think we're all like, oh, this is kind of nice. Like, this is like a staycation. A week or two, it was like, okay, this is, all right, when this is over. And all the uncertainty and everybody's in a different position. I feel for people who don't know how they're gonna, make rent or feed their family, or deal with, what's to come. It's like, these are really uncertain times, and there's been highs and there's been lows. But again, I feel grateful, and fortunate that I'm in the position I'm in, and don't take that for granted, and just try to find the silver lining in it and stay positive throughout it. No matter how many times, I would get anxious or, feel uncertain about everything.
Yeah, man, I hear you. Hey, since we last chatted when I met you in Austin a few years ago when you're getting ready to headline X Games, since that time, the Raiders are now in Vegas.
Yeah.
The Warriors are now in San Francisco. What's happening? The Oakland sports, man. Yeah, you're still repping the pro team that's left. What's going on?
Man, I was bummed out, man. I was supposed to throw the first pitch for the first game of the A's season, and I was so excited to open up the season at the Coliseum in Oakland. But yeah, no, Bay Area sports is it's bittersweet losing the Raiders, man. It's weird because the Raiders culture of their fans is just such a special, unique thing that's unlike anything else. So to lose that team and to go to Vegas, it's tough, man.
I was going to ask, are you still a card carrying member of Raiders Nation now that they're out of Oakland?
It's like having an identity crisis, man. It's like, am I still a fan or not? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So you've got the 2 tracks that are out now. Stand By Me, which you worked with Marshmello on that. That one's still kind of got like that poppy vibe, a little different from the one that you dropped a week ago. What can you tell us about making that one?
That one was fun. It was like, most of the project, not like lyrically or conceptually as much as like sonically, musically, it's kind of a comment on the times. It's, a comment on the mood and the uncertainty and these are, for some dark, uncertain times, and the sound of the album kind of reflects that. But as I was looking at the project as a whole, I felt like it needed some light, some optimism, some positivity, something, to breathe some life. So that was actually the last song I did for the album.
Interesting.
It kind of came like the cherry on top. It was just like it arrived at the right time.
Yeah, man. Well, it's certainly
for you.
Yeah. It's interesting times for sure. Obviously, we've been quarantined. We got a pandemic with all these question marks. The climate of the world and maybe even more specifically this country has taken a dramatic shift really in the last couple of months, really in the last week. Certainly with everything that's going on. I do want to commend you, man, because I know you'd posted about George Floyd, a couple of different things, but I thought you made a post a couple of days ago that was so poignant, and I just thought was like speaking from the heart, and it really made me reflect on kind of like how we use our platforms, and I just want to thank you for that, and just realized and just tell you how appreciative. I'm sure you saw it on social media, the outpouring of support, but man, it was, those words rang true.
That means a lot, bro. Literally, like from the heart, and you're in this position, and if you have a platform, whether or not you have one or not, it's it's almost like it's just what use it for good. Period. No matter where you are.
Yeah. Well,
if you have a voice, then speak from the heart. Use it for good.
I was switching gears for a second. I remember when we were chatting pre that X Games you were supposed to perform at before the storms came in, and you weren't able to perform that summer, but you did come back to Aspen next year and perform. Which
I was so excited for that show. And
I know, man. Trust me, we all were. I know that was going to be a great show. But what I was going to bring up is, and you brought this up in the interview, but for our audience who maybe doesn't know, I was really pleasantly surprised to hear your background in BMX and kind of riding bike going up. So talk to us about that.
No, when I was a kid, I mean, that was my world before music was. I used to go down to the Alameda skate park. I would just skip school, catch 2 buses, and be there all day and have the skate park to myself. Like I used to ride, I used to watch X Games like it was a Super Bowl. Like Cory Nastazio, that was, that's one of the biggest rock stars of all time. He made me really want to ride BMX. But yeah, like I remember like middle school, probably up until like freshman, sophomore year of high school. I saved up and I got a video camera, and me and my friends, I used to go down there, and I shot, like BMX videos and like edited them, and like back then it was VHS, and I would dub them on the VHS and sell them out of my backpack to kids at school.
That's so wild, man.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. So that was crazy to kind of hear that about you, and I was able to. We talked with Nasty actually recently on the show and brought that up, and he was like, "Dude, that blew his mind because he's such a fan of yours." He actually said he thought you guys were supposed to connect when you guys were in Austin and weren't able to.
He was like, "Let's get you out to Woodward, man. Let's put you back behind some bars." I was like, "Yeah." I'm too old for that.
When was the last time you were? When was the last time you messed around on a bike?
I mean, I have a bike. I still mess around a little bit, but it's just not like it was.
All right. Well, I guess it's uncharted territory for everybody, right? As we kind of embark on what the future looks like. But I really think obviously we're in the same sort of business, right? For us with X Games, it's putting on an event for thousands of fans.
Yeah.
We're not able to do that, and we just wonder when that will be. And the same can be said for artists like yourself, who, you know, it's all about performing. You know, so how are you kind of handling the great unknown that is like when you'll be able to like be on a stage in front of fans again?
I mean, that's the hard part, you know. I literally talking about this last night. You know, it's such a huge part of me. Like you said, you know, I have toured for the better part of a decade. You know, there was a whole, you know, 3 or 4 year run where I didn't even have an apartment or a house. You know, I lived out of a suitcase. I went from tour to tour to tour. We lived in, you know, vans, buses, motels, hotels, whatever. Like, you know, from the bottom of it, when it was 5 people sleeping in one motel room because that's all we could afford and barely get to the next city, to, you know, to where we left off. Like, tour was life, you know, and it was such a huge part of my existence, my identity, my lifestyle, my balance, my everything. And tour is where the music really comes to life. You know, it's like you make this song, you know, in a studio, primarily, maybe alone. You release it and you can like read what people say and whatnot, but the real time it comes to life is when you perform it and you're looking in the eyes of the people that it means something to, and that connection, that energy. And you talk about reopening sports, whether it's NBA or even X Games, it's like that energy from the crowd is a huge part of the whole entire experience. So, you know, not having that as a part of my life, it's been strange. It's like, you know, I'm doing the best I can in this new project. I'm excited about releasing and sharing that with the world, you know, but everything in me wants to tour it. I want to, you know, I want to perform it for people.
Right. Yeah, I know. I hear it from pro athletes too. I remember early on in the pandemic, I think it was LeBron said, like, if we're gonna play games without fans, I'm not gonna play. And obviously, you know, that's sort of a heated sentiment at the time. You know, once you start to realize the severity of the issues, maybe you rethink it. But I get it. Like, I get that rationale. Is that's such a humongous part, whether you're an athlete or an entertainer, of what you do, and the energy that comes along with that. That can't be replicated, right?
You know, you can't. It's strange, but you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is, and this is a post-corona world. You know, like the world's different. You know, that's it, and you know, ultimately, you have to protect people, and you have to be safe.
Well, speaking of Corona and quarantine world, we had gotten some questions from some fans, and somebody had asked, I think it was Skylar Toby. He asked, what's the best movie or show you, G-Eazy, have watched
Last Dance
during this quarantine?
Last Dance. Last Dance.
Last Dance. Oh, no question.
So good. I couldn't stop. Yeah, I was sad watching the last episode.
It's like, it was 5 weeks, 10 episodes, and yet it still didn't feel like enough.
No,
right?
No, I wanted to keep going. Yeah.
And it speaks to, I think for any kid who kind of grew up in the 90s too, like Michael Jordan crossed every, I don't care what team you rooted for, he transcended it all.
Yeah.
I don't care who your team was, you loved Michael Jordan. Yeah.
He was a symbol of the world and what he represented. And I'm like a huge Kobe Bryant fan, because I was old enough to remember, like, I was, you know, still like, you know, doing the 3-2-1 Jordan in the driveway. But, you know, the real, like, as I got older and, like, you know, mature enough to understand basketball, Kobe was my generation. And, you know, Kobe is that same level of, you know, transcended the sport, and what he represents was bigger than basketball. It was just a mentality, and it was a worldview, and it was like a perspective on, you know, what do you value and what do you want out of life, and what do you want to be, and how do you want to affect people.
Mamba mentality, man. Yeah, I know that. Oh, snap! When did you get that?
I got it actually fast, but I was watching his last game the other day because they just aired it, you know.
Yeah, when we went for 60.
And I was at that game. I kept seeing myself in the corner, and I just.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was sitting right by the 24, and I just like, it brought me back to being, you know, in that place at that time, experiencing what was such a special performance, and being like, wow, this is how legend goes out. Like, how could you not be inspired?
We were, unfortunately, his passing actually happened on the Sunday of X Games, and we were on air, and I actually had to come on air during, I think it was during a snowboard contest, and sort of announce it. I think we were on ESPN2 maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be a day I think we look back and go, I remember where I was when that happened. Yeah. It was just disbelief, man. Where were you?
Complete disbelief. I was in my studio, and he, for my birthday, sent me a signed jersey, and I have it framed in my studio. And, you know, I walk past it every day. I walk into my studio and it says, to G-Eazy, do the phenomenal. And I just looked at it, and I mean, I cried because he's one of my biggest heroes, you know, like that hit me so hard. And I was just like, you know, but his impact will be forever felt. And the message of the Mamba mentality and the, you know, the way he wanted to inspire the people is true lasting impact.
Damn, man. Yeah. I didn't anticipate this interview taking such like a solemn turn, but you know, we're covering some heavy things.
And we celebrate you every day.
Yeah, man. Last Dance for us was just must-watch TV, and it's cool too because I think like there's a generation of fan who doesn't understand like the magnitude of MJ. Mm-hmm. So for them to kind of like live it for the first time and be like, oh, whoa, like I did not realize that this guy was as impactful as he was. Pretty special.
Not for real.
Well, G, I really appreciate the time, man. I know you're a busy guy. Before I let you go, though, it's the 25th anniversary of X Games. X Games.
Oh, wow.
This year. Yeah. Thank you. I know as a kid who grew up in the Bay Area, as you said, it was your Super Bowl and watching Nasty. Was there any sort of moment or like memory or event or contest or rider that like comes to mind when you think of X Games over the last 25 years for you?
I remember I had an X Games recorded on a VHS that I used to watch over and over and over. And it was always dirt, like watching like Chris Doyle, Cory Nastazio, yeah.
No, that's sick. Chris Doyle is actually part of our broadcast team now on the BMX side, so he's going to be hyped.
Hell yeah.
To hear that. Yeah, that's sick. Yeah. Well, G, I can't thank you enough, man. We wish you all the success in the world with the new music. We're excited to hear it drop. Free Porn, Cheap Drugs, Stand By Me, they're both available on all music platforms, right?
Yep.
Yeah, sick. Thanks, dude. Well, I appreciate the time, homie. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Later.